Good morning. It's Friday, November 21st. The multi-front war in the Middle East is now 778 days old. I'm your host, Jonathan Schanzer. Welcome back to the FDD Morning Brief. Some dissent within Israel's top security echelons right now in the wake of Donald Trump's declared intent to sell those Saudis those F-35 aircraft. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that it's all going to be fine after he received assurances from U.S. officials that Israel will always maintain that qualitative military edge, that QME, over all possible adversaries in the Middle East. The Israeli military, not so sanguine. They're concerned about the growing parity of armies and air forces across the Middle East. Technology is one hell of an equalizer, folks. The more advanced those weapon systems get, the closer other militaries will draw to the IDF's capabilities. That qualitative military edge is undoubtedly going to be a recurring theme here on the FDD Morning Brief. QME, folks, just remember it. You're going to be hearing about it for weeks and months to come. Today's guest is Jacob Nagle. Jacob is a longtime friend and a colleague here at FDD, and his bio, it's insane. He's an IDF brigadier general in the reserves. He's the former head of Israel's National Security Council. He headed the Israeli government's recent Nagel committee, which presented Prime Minister Netanyahu with a series of recommendations on the security budget needs of the country. A previous Nagel committee determined the viability of a little weapon system you may have heard about. It's called Iron Dome. So yeah, Jacob Nagle is kind of a big deal. He's also a repeat offender on this program. We caught up late last night to discuss all the news out of the region, including the F-35 deal, the next U.S.-Israel military aid package, and much more. So stay tuned for that conversation coming up your way in just a few minutes. Is there a Trump doctrine? I honestly don't know. Let me start by saying this. I appreciate what the president has done in the Middle East since returning to office. He got most of the hostages out of Gaza. His plan for Gaza is now international law. He bombed Iran's nuclear facilities. He's pushing to expand the Abraham Accords. This is all good stuff. But here's where you lose me. Why sell F-35s to the Saudis without normalization in return? Why consider selling F-35s to the Turks, who are the worst NATO allies ever? Why accept a plane from the Qataris, who are terrible American allies that bankroll every bad actor in the Middle East? Look, I obviously don't see the intel. I'm not in the meetings where the decisions are made. But I fear that even if Iran is losing steam, we could see a new Sunni axis rise up and threaten the Middle East. Old wine, new bottle. Meanwhile, the winds of war are still blowing out of Yemen, Lebanon, maybe even Iraq. I hate to say it, folks, but this war ain't over. Not by a long shot. If the U.S.-led alliance is to win this thing, we need a cohesive strategy, a Trump doctrine. The sooner, the better. Let's see it on paper, Mr. President. Let's see a plan, because I'll bet you the leftover shekels from my last trip to Israel that our enemies in the Middle East have one, and they're working right now to put those pieces in play. Now for your headlines. Headline 1, holy moly. Lots of action in Lebanon in recent days. Here's the roundup. On Wednesday, the IDF carried out strikes against several Hezbollah weapons storage facilities in southern Lebanon. Israel issued evacuation orders before taking action. But you know that really doesn't matter, because Hezbollah continues to use Lebanese civilians as human shields. And now get this. Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said that Beirut is ready to negotiate with Israel. He made these comments yesterday in an interview on Bloomberg TV. Salam also said that Beirut is, quote, on track, end quote, with its plans to disarm Hezbollah in South Lebanon. That sounds like a load of camel dung to me, but I will note that the Lebanese army did just arrest a major drug kingpin yesterday, which means there may be a little fight left in the lamest army of the Middle East. Headline 2, Israeli prosecutors charge 7 men suspected of smuggling arms from Syria into Israel. The smuggling allegedly happened months ago during those sectarian clashes between Syrian government forces and the Druze community in the south of the country. At the time, throngs of Israeli Druze flocked into Syria to support their co-religionists. Turns out a few might have returned to Israel with some psychotic souvenirs. 4 Israeli Druze and 3 Syrian nationals are charged in 2 separate indictments with importing and possessing arms, weapons trafficking, and conspiracy. 5 Israeli soldiers were also allegedly involved in the smuggling ring, which shuttled weapons to criminal networks in northern Israel. That in the words of my ancestors, is nicht gut. And for headline 3, we head to Europe and check out this bonkers story. On Wednesday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office issued a statement on behalf of the Mossad announcing that Israel worked with European authorities to disrupt Hamas cells and infrastructure across the European continent. Netanyahu's office said that Hamas was putting people and arms in place to deploy against Israeli and Jewish targets on so-called Command Day. I don't know exactly when that was, but it sounds scary. In one operation in September, Austrian authorities seized a weapons cache in Vienna that belonged to a guy named Mohammed Naim. His father is none other than senior Hamas chief Bassem Naim. During the investigation, authorities uncovered information about a meeting between the terrorist father and terrorist son in, wait for it, come on, you know it, Qatar. Here's your more than semi-regular reminder that Qatar is a dirtbag sponsor of Hamas, and Hamas is a transnational terrorist organization. And I might also just point out for good measure that all the talk of Europeans boycotting Israel, they sure don't mind the intelligence cooperation, especially when it prevents attacks on their own soil. Oh, and if you read Amit Segal's report this morning, a bunch of European countries are now calling on Israel to learn the lessons of the war that they just fought in Gaza. So in case you need me to spell it out for you, these clowns want to learn the lessons of the war that they continue to condemn. You can't make this stuff up. It's insane. Okay, enough for me. It's time to press play on that pre-recorded interview with Jacob Nagle from late last night. He's got a lot to say, and some of it was new to me. Always listen for those new things to pop out. Have a listen. Welcome to the FDD Morning Brief, Jacob Nagle.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be here as always. I hope you will have a good time.
I think we're going to have a good time. All right. I want to start with the Saudis, with the F-35. There's, as I see it anyway, a little debate within Israel. You have the prime minister saying that it's okay to sell the F-35 to the Saudis. The IDF saying maybe not so much. What do you say?
I think we have to start almost 2 years ago, because you know that before October 7, the Saudis and the Israelis and the United States, each one from its own reasons, we were very close probably to enter some negotiations about an agreement, normalization, other things. Some people say it's one of the reasons Sinwar did what he did. I don't think so. I think maybe it was reason number 5 or 6 or 7. Now, before the war, the Saudis had on the table, and it's not a secret anymore, 4 demands. One, to have a pact with the United States, what was just finished the last few weeks, during the last 2 weeks. Second, to have a larger weapon procurement package. Third, and I didn't like it, is to have an enrichment, uranium enrichment on Saudi soil, under supervision, under restrictions, but still. Why? Because if the Iranians have, they also entitled, and you know what, maybe they were right, I didn't like it. And the fourth one was something very close to the chapters 18, 19, 20, I don't need in the 20 points plan, meaning in some consequences, in some, maybe we can talk about a way to a Palestinian state. Then the war came. The war came, there are still 4 demands, but totally different, or totally, some of them. First one, the pact remained. The second one is not anymore the pact. The second one is, I want a Palestinian state. That's it. No round, nothing. Palestinian state. Third one is still the package, and we'll talk in a moment on the F-35. And the fourth one is the enrichment went down. The Iranians are not enriching. Maybe it will be something, you know, in U.S. soil. Now, there is one thing when we're talking today on what's going on with the Saudis and Americans, something to, you know, to clarify, because people are are making some mistakes. When they talk about civilian nuclear programs that maybe they want to give to the Saudis, I'm not against, it's very good. If they're talking about something like Bushehr nuclear reactors, that all the fuel comes from outside, goes from outside, it's okay. I don't care. It's something that is not proliferation is something I don't know, because no one knows what is the meaning of this part in the agreement of civilian nuclear. Now go to the F-35. F-35, while it was before the war, it's now, and it will be the future. Remember that the first plane under any contract will come to Saudi maybe in 5-6 years. See the planes for the Emirates that were signed many years ago. It takes time. So I think it can be achieved, that it will be written in the agreement between US and Saudi that before the first plane is coming, there is a normalization. Israel can live with F-35 in 6-7 years, 5 years in Saudi, and you know that not all the F-35s are the same, and in 5 years probably there will be other things. So we can live with it while our QME, qualitative military edge, is being kept. And there are ways to do it.
Okay. All right. That was a very thorough answer, and I definitely appreciate the nuance. I want to talk about something else that I think is going to require a nuanced answer, and that is the debate that is breaking out inside Israel about the future of the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding. You negotiated the last one on behalf of the state of Israel. Right now, there's discussion in Israel. Some people are saying, we want an MOU with the U.S., we want another one for 10 years or 20 years, the same amount of money, more money, less money, I don't know. But then there are some people.
Those are the same people, yes.
But there are some people who are saying no MOU at all. What's going on here?
Again, another very good question. I am coming from many, many debates about it now during my visit to the US and Israel. I hope to see again the Prime Minister. There is another person that is very influential on this issue. His name is Ron Dermer. Everyone wants the goods for Israel. There is a question, what is good for Israel and what is something that is achievable given the current administration in the United States, knowing what President Trump is thinking about foreign aid and about other things. And I remind everyone that when he entered position, he said, I think we have to give an end to the foreign aid beside Israel. And we have to do it maybe in another manner, but so I will be very, very satisfied and very happy if Israel can do what we need for our security without the American aid. So for this, we have to look for oil in the Middle East or in the sea. If we'll have oil like Saudi, we don't need an MOU. We'll buy F-35, F-15s, refuelers, helicopters, weapons, and JTLVs for the ground forces, and maybe many other things. We'll buy them using the revenues from the oil. And believe me, we are not going to sell our oil to China. We'll sell it to good countries, not like Iran. Unfortunately, we don't have oil, and we need this money. It's not that we need this money. Now, I'm not talking about the same MOU that I negotiated last time. I'm not saying maybe Jacob Nagle can lead the negotiation, maybe someone much better than him can lead it. I say that my committee, that maybe we'll talk about it a little bit, the Nagel committee on the defense budget and the force buildup for the next decade, we have a chapter on the MOU there. We say it's not the same MOU, but it's an MOU. We need around the same money. I don't care if it's 38, 37, 39, 42. The inflation, no inflation, cost of ownership. But we are saying no more debates about OSP, money from this MOU go to Israel, being spent in Israel. And there is the question if it's going to R&D or not. They are not going to R&D. All the money being spent in the US, giving places for work, advancing the American economy like President Trump wants, in the very, very special countries, places in the US that needed this money, like Texas and Alabama and other places. And there are senators that really likes it. I'm talking all the money being spent here only for mail platforms, no more OSP, no more expenditures of this money on side effects. It's F-15s, F-35, F-16s, refuelers, what Israel needs. JTLVs, of course, special weapons. And believe me, there is not going to be enough in the MOU that we'll sign, no matter how much it will be, to buy all those kind of things. Now, some people that don't say MOU say, look, it's not a let's do another thing, something else. Let's do a unprecedented cooperation on R&D, on programs. I like it after the MOU. Because if we don't have an MOU, then we're lacking 38 billion in our budget, because we built already some of the procurement Israel did are being based on the money that will come from the MOU that we don't have yet. It's not a secret. And the other thing is that if we go to another way, that we have also to put money in the pocket of a joint. So I don't have the 38, and I have to bring another, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 billion dollar. So you tell me, after you put the additions of the budget on what the Nagel committee recommended, and they're talking on doing it, and what Prime Minister Netanyahu gave additions before to it's already 250 billion shekel for a decade. I need another 150 billion. Where we are going to bring all this money from?
Israel's
finding oil in the Mediterranean.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, we're not finding oil in the Mediterranean anytime soon, and so Israel needs a plan. Israel needs a plan. It's got more battles to fight, and it's got more weapons that it needs to procure, and it's got big budgets ahead after a large outlay, 98 billion, maybe more, in the last war. We know that Israel is going to need more. And so the question is, where is that going to come from? I think a really fascinating debate in Israel.
The debate in Israel, everyone wants the good for Israel.
Of course. And then the question is, what is good?
Ways of thinking where this good can come from.
Right. I understand. Okay. I want to ask you about the looming threat of another round of fighting. You and I have talked about this on lots of different occasions. There is the threat of Iranian missiles that are being stockpiled again, maybe some parts coming in from China. The Houthis, I mean, just because they stopped firing missiles at Israel doesn't mean that they won't again. Hezbollah is trying to stockpile more missiles. Israel's destroying some of those. Iraq might have the Shia militias there. What is going on right now as Israel looks at the horizon? What does the next battle look like in your view?
First of all, you touched almost all the very interesting arenas. I'll start with the easy ones. Lebanon, after the war, what happened to Hezbollah, to Nasrallah, to the missiles, the stripes that we have along the border, the tunnels that we revealed and destroyed, the villages that were destroyed, the short-range missiles, still they have at least 1/3 of the missiles that they had before. But we have almost a green light in Lebanon to do what we need, even very, very deep. The ceasefire in Lebanon really demonstrates the change in the Israeli national security strategy. No more containment and defense, but prevention and offense and preemptive strikes. So we already attacked more than 400 times in Syria, in Lebanon, and US, France, even the Lebanese army. We are very close, I think, to understand that the Lebanese army, the LAF, cannot disarm Hezbollah. So Israel will have to do it. I think in this place, we'll get the United States, not permission, but understanding. Iran, so again, some people are tending to do mistakes. We don't need more. The Nagel committee numbers. Iran is totally shattered and beaten. They are what we call, a wounded animal. An wounded animal in the jungle is much more dangerous than an animal. And they want to revenge. Still, in Iran, there is a big debate. And I'm not saying about the 80% that hate the regime. I'm talking about the 20% that are regime. And there is a debate saying, look on the last 30, 40 years. We spent hundreds of billions of dollars in two things. One, building a ring of fire around Israel. So when there is a war with Israel, they will help us. They spend mostly on Hezbollah, but also on Hamas and others. And when there was a war, we called, no one picked the phone on the other line. Part. So we didn't get anything from this investment. And the second is the investment in the nuclear program. Now, we know that Khamenei program is not to invest in the nuclear in order to kill Israel using nuclear. I will use our CEO word. They wanted to build a weapon of mass destruction in order to build a weapon of mass destruction. Meaning, with the chaos in the Middle East, north, south, other places, and the world will come, Khamenei can run for the bomb, and then when they have the bomb, they can use conventional missiles to kill Israel and to annihilate us. So we cannot give them it. So if you'd ask me, the next round with Iran is going to be there. Until now, the Iranians are working the way we know they're smart. They have to rebuild on three issues. So they're doing it from the places that they think we are not going to attack them, on the US, of course, and going to from up to down or from down to up. They're starting on trying to build their air defense system. I don't think someone will attack them on this, because the moment we'll need to do a war or an operation, we'll start by taking out the air defense. We are telling the countries that are selling them, don't sell, because when you sell, we will take them out. Everyone will understand there was nothing, and they want to buy from you. Second thing, they are going on rebuilding their ballistic missile facilities, the long-range ballistic missiles, the launchers, the UAVs, the cruise missiles. In this case, I don't think that the United States will do anything, but Israel will have to go back maybe for the old Mabam war between war. And don't be, again, I'm not saying it's Israel, but don't be surprised if you see some explosions here and there in places. And the third will be the nuclear, and they understand that if people go to try and rebuild the nuclear,
that's when Israel Trump might come back.
Probably Trump will attack.
Yeah.
So they are. So when some people are calculating how much years Israel gained with US taking back the nuclear program, some people are adding another 3 years, right? Because they say they are going to start to rebuild.
That's how I look at it.
And then there are the Houthis. Now the Houthis are starting to be very annoying. Not only annoying piece in the puzzle, like here and then one missile. And believe me, I don't care. I don't like when someone is waking me up at 2 a.m. 3 times a week. They don't do it now, but they can do it tomorrow, because most of their missiles underground, tunnels in the mountains, it's very tough. But they are starting to gather a huge amount of missiles. They are starting to think like Iran, to build something around us, to infiltrate. So I don't know what will happen, but the Houthis are starting to become something that we have to think about and to not neglect. And we saw what happened to the Saudis, we saw what happened to the Americans, we saw what Israel did, but still, in order to do something against the Houthis, we have to spend money and time on it. And I'm coming back to the money that we don't have. If we don't have an MOU, now I'll add to it another few $10 million to counter the Houthis. And I'm not talking about Turks, I'm not talking about Qatar, the two Muslim brotherhood that I know it's your favorite topic, if I don't want to take it. They're not good people.
They're not. That is, we're looking for a safer Middle East. Jacob Nagle, thank you for helping us understand the very complicated puzzle, that matrix of threats around the Middle East.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we had a little bit of technical difficulties at the end there, folks, but thanks for bearing with us. Here's what FDD has on tap for you today. Is the Big Apple on the rocks? Sounds like a fruity cocktail, but trust me, it's not. FDD founder and president Cliff May's latest column in the Washington Times examines the likely decline of New York City under its new socialist mayor, Zohran Mamdani. Start spreading the news. The bad news, that is. I'd be leaving today. Anyway, meanwhile, in the New York Post, FDD's Enya Kravin and Rich Goldberg discussed the UN Security Council resolution's approval of Donald Trump's plan to demilitarize and de-radicalize Gaza. Enya and Rich caution that the plan's success faces a major hurdle, and that hurdle is UNRWA, that sham of a UN refugee agency that operates as a front for Hamas inside the Gaza Strip. Last I checked, school teachers in Gaza shouldn't double as Hamas terrorists. UNRWA needs to get bounced out of Gaza with no chance of return. I hope people are watching. Finally, check out the newest episode of FDD's The Iran Breakdown podcast, hosted by CEO Mark Dubowitz. Mark sits down with David Patrikarokos Gosh, I mean, sometimes I can't do these names. Anyway, he's a journalist who's been tracking what's happening inside the Islamic Republic of Iran, from the decline of its nuclear program to its weakening economic situation and growing dissent among the population. Listen to that wherever you get your podcasts. All right, people, it's time to close out the week. And what a week it has been. It has really been insane. A reminder here that it's almost Giving Tuesday, which is a perfect opportunity for you to make your tax-deductible donation to this program. Believe it or not, we have no dedicated funding for the FDD Morning Brief. So feel free to jump in with both feet. The easiest way to contribute is by visiting fdd.org/invest. And as always, if you're looking for more ways to get smart, check out the expert analysis on our website, fdd.org. Read our quick takes on X, or watch the videos we post on Instagram and YouTube, and they're good. Really, they are. So check them out. Tune in Monday for another episode of the FDD Morning Brief. Until then, enjoy your weekend. I'm Jonathan Schanzer, signing off for FDD.